Order. Today is April 13th, 2022. It's 7 p.m. Town of Southington Board of Finance meeting, and we'll all begin by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Do our roll call.
Mrs. Zoni?
Here.
Mr. Morrison?
Here.
Mr. Bedoin? Is absent.
No.
Mr. Pocock?
Here.
Mr. Lebenik is absent, and Chairman Leary?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. There are no public hearing items tonight. Is this working well? There are no public hearing items tonight, so we'll move on to approving the minutes from two meetings. The March 30th meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from March 30?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Pocock, second by Mr. Morrison. Any questions, comments, adjustments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes of March 20 are now official. And now we'll seek the approval of the minutes from the April 1st special meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Pocock, second by Mrs. Zoni. Any comments or adjustments to those? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the minutes are official for March 30 and April 1. Financial state of the town, Amelia?
Sure. So we're 3/4 of the year through. Our prior year's taxes are $120,000 over budget. Our interest on taxes are $100,000 over budget. Building permanent fees, $200,000 over budget. Our interest on investments is about $10,000 above budget. Town clerk fees are $550,000 over budget. And then we have our Kerma equity, which is $76,000 over what we budgeted, and we got a little bit, an extra $18,000 for the pilot tiered program, for a little bit over.
What was pilot, something in lieu of tax?
Oh, yeah, payment in lieu of taxes, yeah.
State of Connecticut's program, payment
Yeah.
in lieu of taxes.
And they kind of combined the pilot programs and kicked in an extra $18,000 instead of giving us the individual amounts.
So we're roughly $1.1 million over budget in revenue,
Right,
which is a positive thing.
correct. Okay, and as far as expenses versus budget, no departments having any issues that we're aware of, obviously. We have a few transfers. Take care of a majority of these items through transfer.
Nothing lurking out there.
Nope. Capital projects versus budget, I know I haven't given you guys a report yet, so I'm going to try to do that off-cycle instead of waiting until the end of the month. But I can get it to you. Goal.
Busy lately or something?
Okay, any questions on the health of the town? Okay, we'll move into the subcommittee reports. Sewer Subcommittee, Mr. Morrison?
Yeah, nothing to report. The sewer committee meets tomorrow. So-
Okay. Public Works, Mr. Pocock?
As far as costs go, it's basically Savage Street is, I'm going to just put it down. Savage Street is closed with the gas being
Well,
main,
Close to through traffic. If you live
Right.
up there, it's obviously. you can have
obviously
access to
open,
it, yeah.
right.
Familiar with that area of town, are you?
Sort of familiar. The one thing, there's a cost value to it, is we're putting the foundations in down at Bulky Waste for the shelters when they come in, so the section down there. That, the Bulky Waste is closed this Saturday. Been extremely busy. moving.
April and May are normally.
Yeah, normal
Busy
pickup,
months, yeah.
cleanup, what I. Other than that, the Spring Street Bridge, like everything else, is being. Done in a couple of.
Anything on open, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. Which department is responsible for the roadways at the high school, the traffic ways?
Everybody's to the high school?
Going in, the actual traffic.
Would be
patterns.
Operations Board of Education.
Okay, is there a way that you can get something to them? Because there's a pothole there, you could, if you're lucky that
I
it's
know
high
that,
school.
I've
Because
already,
you could lose a small child
I
in
already
that.
know, yeah, you'll notice this week, Mr. Romano, I spoke with Mr. Romano last, Mr. Romano, this week, as you know, there's no school.
Right.
So it's very difficult to get to things while school is in session. Our highway department's trying to help out as best we can, trying to get all that stuff done this week when school is out. So hopefully it's
Right.
being done as we speak.
Thank you.
Space, Mr. Popak?
We closed the, on the property. Other than that, we're working on a couple of different areas.
Everything's
And that's
confidential.
all, that's all.
There's money in there, but there's a small amount. Small amount,
Yeah.
yeah, and there's another relatively small, less than $1 million
Yeah.
for the, for open.
Nobody here to really represent self-insurance, but I think we heard of that at our
Right.
April 1 meeting.
Yeah, Joe had updated us on the last meeting and the next meeting.
No, nothing new.
Nothing new.
Okay, economic strike, Mr. Morrison?
Yeah, nothing new there either.
Our subcommittees, the investment committee, I guess we saw we have 10,000 ahead on interest income, but Kevin's not here on that one, so we'll let that one go. Anything from the Board of Fire Commissioners?
No, not really, not at this time. They are extremely busy. Engine that hit head on down in South.
All the way back to the manufacturer,
Ohio,
stay under
yeah.
warranty?
Yeah, trucked it out there.
Rescue 1 is now back in
Back
service.
They went and got it?
No, the company.
The company drove it back so they can get all the bells and whistles, make sure they all work, no pun.
Really?
Yeah.
It
made
came
sure-
with all the bells and whistles
Yeah.
ringing.
They made sure everything worked.
Well, I'm glad we got it back. It's very unfortunate when,
We have to bear in mind, these rigs are going up by.
We are actually lucky, if that's a term.
we have our own Board of Finance representation to the Board of Fire Commissioners that we've set up. I would just want to entertain, just thinking, we don't have to figure it out now, but should we have a similar situation with the police department? Because we're bringing on, in the budget, if the budget goes through as recommended, we're bringing on 2 new police officers, setting up the special operations, whatever it's going to be called, team, and we have a good working relationship with both, but I wonder if we should get a little bit closer to that. But that's something we could just keep in mind and talk about maybe at our next meeting if we just want to set up a liaison. There's no committee because they are run by the commissions, and anybody watching should know that the library, the police department, and the fire department are run by appointed commissioners. So they don't report directly or at all to the town manager. And sometimes it's good to have a liaison with the Board of Finance. Should something come up, they have somebody appoint a contact, and should they be discussing something, we could attend it. We could always attend a meeting because they're public, but we could attend a meeting and represent the Board of Finance to them. Could be a healthy relationship to establish. We could all talk. We could just chat more about it if we want to go that way, and then I'll contact the head of the chairman of the Board of Police Commissioners if it's something we want to do. Okay, any other committee, anybody else have anything else to report from committees that they've gone to or commissions? Okay, board communications,
Yes.
okay?
First, the police department has been putting interesting photographs and information about police officers on Facebook.
Yeah,
I have to say I love it. And I would love to see if the fire department would have time, if they could also participate in the same kind of thing. I think it helps community relations deeply, and I think that helps to support the people who are helping us every day to stay safe in this community. We all know that public safety is one of the most important things for everybody. And they're reaching out to the people helps all of us all the time. So I'd love to see it if the fire department could do that as well, and I do appreciate the police for what they're doing. Secondly, I had complained openly since I've been here about some of the conditions I saw when I worked at the high school. So finally, Mr. Medancy set me up with Mr. Romano, and last week I had a tour of the high school. Now, it's been 4 years since I left the building and since I had worked there, and there have been some very good changes. And there have been some things that have been neglected, mostly because they didn't know that these problems existed. So I showed Mr. Romano some of the photographs that I had taken while I worked there, and the worst of the problems, particularly black mold in bathrooms and mold coming out of vents onto ceiling tiles, that's all been cleaned up. And I think that COVID was highly responsible for that and the deep cleaning that was done for that. And I appreciate that especially because I thought that was very dangerous for the staff as well as students. There were some things that they weren't aware of, which I showed them, and they said some of those things they can fix pretty easily, and they will take care of them, and I asked them to advise me when they do so that I can keep on top of it. One of the issues that they can't take care of now, I suggested that they add into their long-term budget planning, and that's window replacement. There are windows that leak water, and I was very fortunate that one of the wonderful teachers I had worked with previously was actually in the room grading papers when I was there, and I said, this is one of the rooms where the windows leak, and she said, oh my God, you should see it when it rains really hard. And I was thrilled, because then it validated what you couldn't see that day. It was raining lightly so that nothing was coming in, but none of the teachers on that side of the building could put anything on the rail, because the water comes through the windows. So we looked at it, and I had thought it was a caulking issue, but it's not. It's a window construction issue, and it's how the windows were made originally, and that over time they have become loosened from the structure. So that's something that I suggested go into long-range planning, and I'm going to look for that in the future Board of Education budgets. And it's on many places in the building, and there's rooms that are very, very hot and rooms that are very, very cold. So they're going to be looking at that, as well as some plumbing leakages that we found again, and some vents that still need to be, that were cleaned and need to be cleaned again. So I appreciate the cleanings that were done and the time that Mr. Romano and the new principal at the high school spent with me to deal with situations that I felt were not good for the health and well-being of the students and staff. And to say that it is significantly improved is mild, because it really is so much better than it was when I was there. So I appreciate that very much, and I appreciate their time.
thank you. Any more board communications? It said here we're going to have a Board of Finance workshop after this meeting. I'll have to cancel that because I'd like everybody to be here as best we can. So we could talk about your schedule. Joe said he's available the week of the 18th, but not the day of the 20th, and he's available all the week of the 25th. Leave the 28th.
And I don't get back till the 11th.
Okay. So maybe we could float the idea of a, well, I'll you know what, I'll put it in an email and send it out. Yeah, we're looking at the week of 4/18 or the week of 4/25. It could be any day that works.
Okay.
Can't make the 20th anyway. Oh, because of the
Yeah.
self-insurance meeting.
Well, is it that, or, well, he said he couldn't make the 20th, or maybe, okay,
We have the self-insurance on the.
how about the 20, is the 26th the Tuesday? Let me check my calendar.
Yes, it is.
How about we try for the 26th? I'll send an email out and just see. We can do Tuesday, the
As
26th?
far as I know right now, I need to be at the AquaTurf because they're honoring my former neighbor
Ah.
for the Wall of Honor, and I was the one who nominated him.
Okay, that's the 26th?
Yes, it's supposed to be.
How about the
Now, if that
27th?
should- I will find out from Mr. Brown. I'll check with
All
him
right,
and
I'll
see
put
if
out,
it's
I'll
valid.
put out 426, 427
Sounds good.
in an email, and we'll just see where we, no? Okay, I'll do 425 as well, because that's my scout
That's
night,
okay.
but what night do we present
Oh,
as a public hearing?
425.
425 is a public hearing.
425,
I guess I
you'll be
won't
at
go
the
to
council
Scouts
meeting,
either.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be at the council meeting.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, Sue goes away on the 28th. That brings us back to the week of the 18th.
So we have the 18th.
The 21, 421,
I'm
That's a
open there.
Thursday.
I'm open there.
421?
Yep.
Let's,
Check.
that's
Yeah.
Thursday, 421. I'll send a note out on that.
What, you want to start at 7, Mr. Chair, or earlier?
Yeah, no, 7's
7?
fine.
Okay.
Is that, I mean, is that, do people want to start early? I guess we
That's-
could
no,
do
that's
6:30.
Well, you're the one who has to come in, so.
Good,
Joe.
I'm home.
You guys want to
6:30?
do 6:30?
Sure.
All right, so,
Let's just put it in.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
Let's put it in 6:30 on 421. It's hard to get everybody when you pick a day. You keep moving it around, and
Right.
it's
Well,
hard,
so,
but
Worst case scenario, I know nobody wants to call in, but we have till the end of April to do the call-ins before it disappears, so.
okay.
Unless the
And why does
legislature
it
does.
disappear? I mean, whose
The-
jurisdiction is it to change it?
Right now, it's in the implementer bill.
In the what?
Implementer bill from
Okay.
last year. Right now, it's in front of the legislature, whether they wish to continue it, if that bill passes. Hopefully, if it does pass, it passes before April 30th, but their session ends May 6th.
But that
so
includes everything, right? It's a broad sweeping
Oh, that's
bill,
gonna
so
be- yeah.
it's how they meet, and
It's going to be out, it'll change our situations also.
too bad it couldn't be for formal meetings. You want people in person to be able to video and get
It's
the
always an
dialogue.
option, though. Obviously, if the board doesn't want to do it, they don't have to do it, but, there's a. All right, so
An
420,
option to extend?
All right.
There was something that they were talking about extending.
there's actually a bill.
Okay.
If it-
Amelia, could you send a note on the 421? When you
Yes.
put together the notice, just send it to everyone so we all know.
Absolutely.
And I'll get to Kevin and Joe. Okay. And that discussion is all about ways, more than one, not one way, but ways to mitigate the predicted jump in next year, the following year, the 23-24 mill rate increase. And we're going to just briefly talk about it because I think we all agree where it is and what strategies can we employ. It looks like we're over in revenue. That could be one. Setting the mill rate is an option. And there's a whole bunch, anything we can do now. Locking down on growth in the budget early in the cycle. We just put all the options on the table and see if we as a board have an appetite. Nothing happens if a quorum doesn't. How the board works, I like it. Okay. Nothing on strategy.
You have public communications.
Oh, public communications. Public communications. Anybody from the public want to address the board? All quiet back there? Okay.
Actually, you know what?
Oh,
Great, thank you. It's nice to have a visitor.
Richard Cooper, 79 Barbara Lane. I guess I would just inquire. I'm sure you can't tell me anything about what the 25,000 for the town attorney dash other professional services is about, but I would ask, why are we what's the $3,000 appropriation for town council program supplies?
When we get to that, I'll explain.
yeah, we'll explain it. Well, yeah, we can tell you.
We could actually tell you the case, too.
Generally, just so everyone knows, generally we don't dialogue with the public during public communications because it just keeps going back and forth. And if we answer a question, there may be one opinion on the answer or somebody else's opinion on the answer. So what we tend to do is just listen, take notes on the topic when people come before us with something. Usually it's more general in nature, spending in general, or what we're spending on or what we're not spending on. But yeah, when we go through each of these, we'll tell you what they are and why they exist. And thanks for being here with us. The first one is the consent agenda, and one more time, so everybody understands, the consent agenda simply means the money's already been received, the town has possession of the money, and they're just putting it back to the line item that expended it. So this is a case that we received a donation for the police department for program supplies for $259, and what we're going to do is make sure that money goes to the police department's cost center department, and then goes to the line for program supplies so it could be used on the canine. So we have to just make that maneuver. So it's called a consent agenda again because the money is already received.
I'll make the motion to move the $259.
I'll second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Carries 4-0. The next ones, and for everybody watching, some people watch these and maybe it's easy to get confused if you're not the one doing them, but we have transfers and appropriations. Transfers is where we take money from one line item and we move it to another line item. And remember that the Board of Finance, this board has control by line item on the general government budget. So, and an appropriation is where we take money from our contingency or from another fund and we appropriate it in. So that would be additional spending, where a transfer would be the same budget, just changing the lines in which the money is going to be expended on. So our first item is a transfer of $2,000 in the police department for between school and maintenance.
And that should say school and education is the account.
Okay.
So that was just a typo.
Yeah, I read the memo
The memo was the school.
earlier,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
and it explained it all. Oh, that's the K-9 one. Yeah, it's from equipment maintenance to school and education.
Correct.
$2,000 to train new sergeants in a consistent manner.
That's correct.
Right.
Make the motion to make the transfer.
Motion is second, discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 4-0. The next appropriation is for $198,660, get down there, for the Emergency Management Fund contracted services
Mr. Chairman.
from
if I-
ARPA.
If I may.
Okay, go ahead, do both of them.
Yeah, this is the ARPA money for the next two. As you know, MS4, which is water quality requirements for the state of Connecticut, we're using ARPA money to do that we want to make sure are on our plan. We're actually faster thanks to the ARPA money. First one is to taking the town into 4 quadrants, doing the catch basins, cleaning all the catch basins, and removing all the materials for disposal. That's the first one, and that's the one for 198. The other one is to inspect and clean all our detention basins in town. So those are the things, obviously, that are part of our MS4 permit.
Okay,
And the ARPA, for those who don't know, is the American Rescue Plan money that came in from the
Correct.
federal government.
Exactly. And it's specifically used for, one of the categories specifically says water quality. So.
and just to add to it, we didn't ask for it, right? We received it.
Correct.
We
I did
received
not
an
turn-
apportion.
I did not turn it down.
We didn't turn it down, but we didn't ask for it, so we're trying to put it to the best use. And what this means to a taxpayer is, these were projects the vast majority of them we were going to do in a short time anyway, so they're just being paid for by the federal government, not by the local taxpayers. That's the long and short of it. So that's $198,660. The next one is $94,488. Can we take them both together? Somebody want to make a motion?
Two separate votes because it's ARPA money.
All right, two separate votes. Number one, $198,660.
So moved.
Second?
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That one carries. The second one, $94,488.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the next one is a transfer, $4,650 in the fire department.
This one, Mr. Chairman, the Fire Commission would like to film promoting part of their program to recruit more firefighters, and they wish to film for this, and this is where the money would go.
We asked them to do all they could to promote volunteerism in the
Yeah,
community.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, number 4 carries. Number 5, transfer $25,000, town attorney, other professional services.
The town attorney is requesting $25,000 in a transfer line item, which comes from one part of the town attorney's budget to the hired by the town of Southington to defend the plaintiff. Matter is denied.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
okay. We have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. The next one's an appropriation for $3,000 for town council program supplies. This is all relating to the charter revision.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the Charter Revision Commission has asked my office to establish a budget of $3,000. Publications, as you have to take minutes, they have to also advertise their public hearings.
We have a motion?
Oh, motion to approve.
Yeah, I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And the last one is a transfer, $20,208 for the fire hydrant rentals.
Mr. Chairman, obviously, we have not had an increase in fire hydrant years. This includes an increase that took effect July 1. That's why we increased slightly the number of hydrants that go into the town. As you know, every time from
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? I just have one piece of discussion. The difference in the price, the $3.50 times the hydrants is only about $5,000. We had that many new hydrants?
It's 5,000 per quarter. It's 5,000.
Oh, per quarter, okay, understood.
Quarterly bills.
5 times 4 is 20, got it?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, favorite motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting ended at 7:31.
Oh, geez, I
That
feel
was a
bad. I wore a
quickie one.
jacket tonight.